Always been.
Always been there. Yeah.
Okay, the time being 9 o'clock on Monday, April 14th. I'd like to call this meeting of Emergency Management, Tourism, and Safety Committee to order. This meeting and all other meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin statutes. But the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Roll call will indicate everybody's here. I need a motion to approve the agenda. Kevin makes a motion, Jim seconds. Any changes to the agenda? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, I need a motion to approve minutes from Monday, January 13th, I believe.
Move to approve as.
Fred makes motion to approve as presented. Ricky is seconds. Any changes to the minutes? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Public comment, don't see too many public people here, so we'll move on. Director's monthly report.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you for another great meeting and got a lot going on. So I didn't want to overload you with a bunch of stuff and I'll kind of hit the highlights of my report. But as usual, I attended the Waupaca County Hazmat team. Our trainings have been going good. Nick, our new training officer on the Hazmat team, has done a great job. He's enacted some additional quarterly and extra Saturday meetings, which have been pretty good. Got some good turnout with it. So the training is going very, very well, and things have been progressing nicely since I stepped out of that position with the Hazmat team. So I can't say anything but good about that. I attended some YCAMS training. So what that is the cards that we carried, cards for law enforcement and different first responder agencies. We've transitioned over to a new program, which is the version 3, or the new version, I should say. So I attended some virtual training for that and trying to work with our first responder agencies, law enforcement, fire, getting everybody else trained. Working with Northwest First Responders right now to get them set up in the system. But just real quickly, what it is it's a system for vetting law enforcement, fire, EMS. It stores their credentials. So if we have a large scale incident for accountability, they can scan that QR code, scan into the incident, and they know they're there and what qualifications they have. So real nice system. We're pushing that. The state's pushing that pretty hard. So very well. Some of the things we've been really focused on lately is school safety. Had a lot of reunification meetings, a lot of meetings with schools in cities lately. We met with the Waupaca school officials to review their evaluate their evacuation procedure. I won't go too in the weeds too far on it since the meeting's public and some of this is a little private, but we did meet at their offsite location, which is on my minutes here, my notes, and kind of went through their procedures and how that'll work. They're doing a really good job with the reunification, and all the schools have done a great job of really staying focused on that. Eric and I have been going to every one so far that we can attend to meet with them and just really go over the process and critique it. There's a lot of mapping that's getting done right now. And that mapping, which is nice, is when they go through and update those maps, we're able to put that into our Spillman software at ComCenter. And we're able to link that also with the cameras that are in there as well. So dispatch is able to see directly into the school and give play-by-play if we need it with mapping and updating information. So it's working very well, and it's very humbling to see them take it seriously and be very proactive with it. So we've been really pushing for those, and it's going well. We have an administrator meeting that we're scheduling for early May, first week of May, to meet with all the administrators as well and law enforcement. We'll continue those conversations. So we held a meeting with We Energies and WPS, kind of like a meet and greet at the office, but it was also kind of a dual fold. We had an after action for the gas leak in Waupaca, but it was nice to get Scott Shepard and some of the players from We Energies in. For those of you know, WPS and We Energies are owned by WEC Energy Group, so it's all kind of one. So they have dual roles. But we got them in, had a real nice meeting, and did our after action with the city of Waupaca, which I think that's a little bit down the list here. But we attended the emergency management region meeting in Kewanee. We had a great presentation on the decommissioning of the nuclear plant. So that was a very interesting meeting. I find that stuff intriguing when you're talking nuclear, and then you're hearing about some of the stuff that goes down the highway and how they transport that via rail and where it all kind of spreads out. you'd think it's kind of isolated, but that stuff's going all over. So as they transport that and take some of those devices and things away, it travels around. The good news is none of it's coming through our area. So we got that going for us.
Did they say how far along they are? My niece's boyfriend works there, but it's kind of secret. You can't talk about a lot of it.
Yeah, and some of those things are pretty private. They are in, I don't remember what phase, but they're honing in on the buildings now.
Oh, they're that close now?
Yeah.
Basically, the only thing that's left is the maintainment building. They've taken the warehouse storage things, and those are pretty much dismantled
Mhm.
and shipped out. None of it, they check everything before it goes out. None of it is radioactive when it leaves the site.
Yep.
And the actual containment building itself will be stored, it'll be taken down, but will be stored on site
Yeah, the fuel will stay there for,
ever.
yeah, they said that the one date was a long time away, but that's just a tentative maybe. And it'll probably be there forever, like Eric said. So the fuel storage and the contaminated storage area will remain there probably longer than I'm alive, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really intriguing though to hear how they do that kind of stuff. And I think one of the things that was interesting to me, and they made the comment that they're decommissioning that nuclear plant because they're looking to make more nuclear plants. But the
Yeah.
problem is they they thought they could maybe salvage that, but they were too far along now to stop it because they did talk about going back and reopen it. But they were too far in the process that it would be too far down the money. So now they have to continue. We had a meeting with the sheriff's office, the highway department, for the Clinton Farms for Farm Tech Days. That's fast approaching in August. I hate to say that's fast approaching August, but
Yeah.
it's something we're really thinking about. That's going to be a big turnout. It's a huge deal. We've done a lot of planning with that. I've been working closely with the fire department and the ambulance, along with the sheriff's office with Andy Thorpe, to have a good system in place for that, some offsite plans. What do you do in evacuation? Thousands of people. Farm Tech Days brings in a lot of people. It's not new. They're used to this stuff. It's just new to our area in a way that we orchestrate it now. So myself and Eric will be on site during that time and be there to help whatever we can. But the planning is going well.
Third time on that farm.
Yep. Yeah. Held an amateur radio emergency services group, actually in this room. We invited them over here to have a little meeting and a meet and greet. Also showed them some of our radio equipment downstairs in the comm center, gave them a tour. So we had a great meeting. We had a really good turnout. So for those of you that know, that's the Amateur Radio Emergency Services Group. It's a group of volunteers that help us in time of need, provide vital service with ham radio, and they can also help with damage assessment. So we've been working closely with them, trying to keep them informed of some of the stuff we're doing to keep our partners in tune to what we're doing. I consider them partners in these. So if we ever need them, they're absolutely there to help. We met with the city of Waupaca to review their emergency response plans and finishing up their EFRs. So we went over to the city, met with Aaron, Pete, and the police chief and fire chief, and had a good meeting with those guys. Got their emergency plans pretty well solidified, and I think it did right after that got it approved at council. So they're sitting good. The only sad part is now with Aaron leaving, we'll have to obviously get those refreshed with someone new, but we'll navigate it. It is what it is. And then Snowdio. Hate to think about winter, but we did have the Snowdio. Did on them 2 of our light towers out at Bear Lake campgrounds. Everything went on well out there, no issues, no complaints. Light towers were out and used. Sounds like it was a good event. No accidents, no injuries. So, attended the Towns Association meeting. I did a small presentation on damage assessment, as well as a meet and greet. It was one of the first ones where I was officially the emergency management director. So had a good meet and greet. Did a nice little talk with them and explained to them how the process works, retaining documentation, photographic evidence, things like that, so we can help them facilitate and get money when they need it. Town of Little Wolf, we did have a good success there. $40,000 we were able to get through the disaster fund for them. So that helped out a lot from the weather event, the water event over in Manuel. So, good success.
One of the comments back on the light tower deal, Those towers, when they go out, they have to be at the request of a first responder group, so fire department, law enforcement or whatnot, so. Just a nonprofit group that wants to use those towers, if it's not the request, by the request of an agency for safety reasons, they just don't go out to light up your event.
Where are they stored, or?
We had them all over.
Yeah, 'cause I thought Marion had one many years ago in their fire department.
Yep, Manawa's got one, Marion, and we got one in the Sallyport out here.
Okay.
But yeah, we keep them kind of strategically.
Yeah.
So those are still a vital asset, but like Eric said, we like to try and reserve that for law enforcement, first responder, fire requests. So they're expensive. They're not free to operate, so we try and reserve that. So we had attended and spoke at the Manawa Rural Fire Department annual banquet. So I did attend their banquet, had a really nice dinner, presentation of awards out there. Our office did receive an award that I happily handed to Eric. It was well deserving on their part. It was for this office's role in the Manawa Dam failure. So the Manawa Fire Department did present us with an award for that. I did accept it in lieu of for Eric and Andy for their efforts. I was not there, but spoke a little bit on it and thanked them. So, we held 2 run, hide, fight trainings for all county employees, 2 different dates in this room. Had a great turnout. Lots of people. We filled the room each day. So we had a lot of good feedback from that as well. One thing that we're kind of bringing into the system now is we talk about panic buttons throughout the courthouse and everywhere. They're not a button. It's something you actually physically pull. So we're trying to dispel that a little bit. And what I did is I got a demo version of that button. So I'm bringing that with me on all the trainings we're doing now and giving it to every new team member or employee to actually physically see and how it operates. Because we went around and I made sure that every one of those buttons was working. And it was funny because I said, go ahead and push your panic alarm. And they're pushing it thinking they did it. And there's nothing happening. It's not, you got to physically pull it. So trying to dispel that and also teach them and educate a little bit on how to use them. And then how the process works, what'll happen. You know, that alarm goes off in comm center and that will trigger that phone call and that law enforcement response. So, but we went around to everywhere except for the courts due to courts that day. Otherwise, I'm happy to say all the buttons worked as they should. Got a lot of good information from it. I know we're going under the remodel, but it was still a good time to get those tested. Fremont Waupaca School District Safety Meeting. So that was one of the mapping meetings we did. They got a grant to do the mapping for their schools. So we attended that meeting and had a lot of good feedback. I do believe we have a follow-up meeting coming soon with that one after we get the maps back. Manawa School Safety Meeting, a similar situation. District administrator over there and all the players, law enforcement, fire, EMS, we're all in one room, discuss some safety and planning. So we had a good meeting. Same with mapping, same with some wants and needs that came out of that. Theta care. So we did the MRSE, which is basically a mass surge exercise. Let's just say the hospitals were overrun or flooded. How do you handle that? How do you activate the emergency operations center for the hospital? How do you handle the flow of patient transport? There was a lot of good things that came out of that. Seeing it firsthand, Eric and I were there at Theta Care in Waupaca here to see how they operate and maneuver that. Went well. So, we attended the East Central Emergency Management meeting, which we talked about. Law enforcement chiefs meeting. So we had that up in Iola. Good feedback from that one. That was more of a meet and greet as well. It was one of my first ones that I attended. And I don't think anything other to report on that one.
I'll be a step behind you on the
Yep.
report. So a lot of times you'll hear with hospital reports, they don't have beds.
Yeah.
And that's not the case that they don't physically have beds. They don't have staff to handle patients in those beds. So it's not like you don't have a place to lay down. You can lay there, but nobody's.
Yeah. You know, and we have offsite beds and we talk a lot about the veterans home as being a fail-safe spot to bring residents or people that need it. Same thing like Eric said, it's the staffing that has to go with it. So, trying to come up with some of these plans and craft things that fit where you go with the physical person, but also the staffing needs to generate help. So it's kind of a twofold process that we think about. We attended a 2-day hazmat conference. So good thing in Stevens Point. That was good. It was a Wisconsin Association of Hazmat Material Responders. I did take some training over there as well. So got some good feedback from that and I learned a lot. That was good. So we held the bid opening here at the sheriff's office. One of the projects I work on is obviously the tower stuff. So Simcoe and New London Tower Projects is now phase 2 of Simcoe, phase 1 of New London. So that bid has been secured. Same company that we hired for the first round did receive the bid for the second. So Alexico is the company that we want.
Where is the one in London?
So it's right off of Beckert Road, I believe it is. It's on the MCC quarry.
Oh, okay.
So right on the
Yeah.
top. So things are looking good there. We did kind of hold off on getting construction started at Simcoe, the second phase. We wanted the site to dry up a little. It was a little wet out there and we didn't need to push it so hard. So we wanted to let that dry up and solidify. MCC's looking good though. That site's no issues. It's on way top of the quarry. So the nice thing with that one is everything from the work that's going to be done can just be pushed into the quarry. So saves us a lot on that one. So Andy did a good job pre-planning that one. Hazmat decon training. So I did a afternoon of decon training for our dive team at the sheriff's office. Just kind of a good overview of, hey, if you're exposed to some chemicals, what do we do? How do we get out of the wetsuits? How do we keep each other safe? So we did a hazmat training on that and then explained, had a little bit of in-classroom stuff and then a hands-on scenario. So good feedback as well. The decon or the dive team really enjoyed it. So it went great. Eric and I attended the 2025 Governor's Conference as well as the pre-conference training. We attended a class called What's the Damage? And it helped us get a better understanding how to utilize technology and understand what is the damage. Is it a level 1, 2, 3? What are we looking at? We also used a program on our phone called Survey 123 that allows us to take real-time photos and damage assessment, which will then in turn go back to the state and they can see everything right away in real time. So it's a good class. We took that and then we did take a bunch of training at the governor's conference as well. Governor did attend. See him for a little while for a
He was
speech.
late.
He was late, but he attended. And then, no, it was good. It was my first governor's conference and I enjoyed it. And then we also had a meeting with Gold Cross with Jake Waller, fire chief of Waupaca. I hosted him down at Gold Cross's station for a tour. Jake relatively new in the position, get him versed with Gold Cross. And then there was also some discussion about down the line planning with a possible first responder group. It's kind of a stepping stone to that and a meet and greet. Otherwise, it's been a very busy couple months. A lot of projects going on, a lot of things going.
But no high water, huh?
High water. This came in at 8.9. It was our last.
8 was probably 8.
Yeah, I think we came in at 8.8.
We're under 8 feet now.
Yep, we were monitoring that very close. We did field a lot of phone calls on that. Ordinance states 9 feet. Or whatever we deem myself, if it's something that I feel it needs to be put on, we can do that. We didn't feel as though collectively between Eric and myself that it was warranted at this time, just due to the fact that the water wasn't high enough. We monitored it. We also have a sheriff's deputy that gives us updates from Fremont, gives us pictures of the water depth. We have a gauge out there, so it's really nice that he provides us with that. We have our sources through the web that we can also pull. But knock on wood, we were good to go. We didn't have to put those on. Now we're receding, the water's going down. Looking good.
I mentioned New London Settlers, which I really appreciate all the people along the wall there that water's washing up on our bank, and our shore and so forth. So New London, I think is 7, 8 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a good talk.
It used to be 8.
It seemed, when I was coming over here today, Highway 54 between New London and Northport,
Mhm.
whoever built that years and years ago must have pretty good brain in their head because I think if it went was maybe this much higher, it'd be over the road.
Yep. I remember years ago that did flood.
It did?
Yeah, so
A long time ago, though. I was pretty young.
Yeah.
back, so it would have been or prior to 82, they actually raised that road bed at one point in time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I worked in London for a while, and there were a few times in the spring that I would have to take an alternate route because they'd have 54 foot with high water.
Oh. Yep. Yeah, I remember one time, like I said, that was it, but no, they did a good job on that, cause
Yeah, I
it's,
can remember Floyd Benny type,
Yep.
Yeah.
And
old Floyd Benny type's day. Was a kid.
I think it was probably 7 or 8 years ago, Highway rebuilt the box culvert on Highway X, so they lowered it a little bit and angled it and made it wider, so there's a whole lot more water can go out onto that wildlife area sooner. And I think that eliminated or alleviated a lot of the water that was backing up. Years ago, Conservation Corps built a canal that came off the Embarrass River. I think it was, oh, what's the name of that? Hoffman Canal? Rasmus? Rasmus. But that's never been maintained after it was built, so now has tree debris and all kinds of things in it that are impeding the water flow. So when Embarrass would get high, it used to detour and go through the Murphy plant backyard there and up by Quick Trip and then head back down into the marsh that way. One of the problems that did kind of take over and flood the trailer park a little bit more.
yeah. Otherwise, the water's been good. Been quite happy with it so far.
Speaking of that, you talked about coalition or somebody getting together with the watershed program with the
Watershed study?
Yeah, so where's that?
I haven't heard further on it.
Heard further on.
I talked with Ryan a couple weeks ago on that. So the DNR is doing another study that's involving Winnebago and Outagamie County. And we needed a bunch of the counties to go together on this for the Army Corps. So they want to do that study first because it was already in the works to see what was really there. The only thing the Army Corps needed from us initially was just a commitment with no funding commitment. Sign the letter and move forward so they could apply for the funding, because that's like a 2 or 3 year process. So that's just gonna be on hold for another year and see how the initial
haven't-
study from the DNR goes.
Yeah, otherwise, we haven't had really any updates on it. And just a holding pattern, so. No,
A question on, the schools.
Yes, sir.
You go to the parochial schools then too?
we'll go everywhere. Yep, absolutely. Actually, so we have tonight, I'll be attending, that's one of the things I've been attending is the Rapid Task Force training, which is, we hold that for law enforcement and, all fire departments, how to evac schools, and we have to go in for one of those incidences. We're training the first responders. We're doing it at all different schools. The nice thing is we're using some of those schools as examples as well to train with them. So Waupaca will be at the school over by the Learning Center there, the Baptist school, I believe that is. We're doing all different places. Kind of in phase 2 of the training, but absolutely, we're working with every school.
That's good. Any other questions for Zach?
I just was, the last thing on the list here was when you met with Jake Waller at Gold Cross. How's the ambulance situation throughout the county? Everything seems to be covered pretty good, everything on an even keel?
Yes and no. It depends on where you're at. Some people like Clintonville's good. I haven't heard any issues. Northwest First Responders over there, Clintonville has their own first responder group as well. Gold Cross is pushing for a first responder group in Waupaca. They feel that there's a lack in that area. There's some discussion on that, and Gold Cross would like to have another ambulance in this area, but it comes down to funding, comes down to money, and if anybody's willing to pay for it, that's the problem. There's, yeah, you know, and that goes, you know, really to the city and everybody else, and they want to bring that up. But the situation, I think, is good. I think we're sitting good. Coverage is always there. You know, the nice thing about even with, yes, there's a desire and a want for more in this area. The thing with auto aid with ambulances, there's always a call away.
Sure.
It's waiting for it, depending on where it is. You know, that's the one thing. But I think talking to all the groups throughout the county, we're sitting very well. I can't say that there's any issue anywhere else except for the thing I've heard lately is with Mecker.
With a
Hey,
response.
Dave,
With a
were
response.
you, still on the council when, was it Gold Cross wanted to, the city wanted to pay almost double?
I think it was, that point.
Yeah, because, I mean, there was,
Mhm.
it was a big amount, huge amount.
Yeah, one of the things with Gold Cross, and we took, when I went down there, Jake, they do a really nice job of explaining everything. He comes from and how they do things. Gold Cross doesn't, they claim they don't make a lot of money on the ambulance service. It's the extra things, the AEDs and the extra supplies.
And I will vouch for you, and you asked the question. I chair the commission of Clintonville. And it's terrible because if people would understand, 60% of all charges for ambulance is charged off. We never collect. 60%. 60%. Ridiculous.
They don't make money on that.
No.
That's a lose. They work really hard to make it up on the other sales and the training and everything else they do because of that. That's unfortunate. But yeah, they definitely have a hard time with that.
And the ambulance services too, are just like the hospitals looking for personnel.
Oh, absolutely.
They have the vehicles, but it's just keeping the staffing levels up. That's their.
And I will tell you, they are a great steward of trying to get this next generation to step up and do that. They offer a program where they will pay for all your school, pay for everything. I think it's a 2-year commitment that they request, but they are awesome with trying to do that. The problem is we're talking single digits of people wanting to. It's not like it was where you had a waiting list of 25 people. You have a multiple 1, 2, 3 people, that's it. But they do a great job with the training. They have a great training facility down there, and they're great to work with in the county because they're always willing to come in and do training for AED, first responder training, stop the bleed, those types of things. But no, I think our coverage in the county has been very well received. I haven't heard anything negative. Pretty happy with everything that's going on. The first responder groups have been doing a really good job as well. So, and they really do a good job of helping with the fire departments. When an ambulance needs to lift us, you page out the entire fire department, or can you get a first responder to help? So they've done a great job with that as well. And it opens the door for funding. If these first responder groups are run through the fire department, that opens so much more to grants because of that call volume and those ambulance calls. So
I think Marion just added that all the ambulance people are now part of the fire department. So you do have more staff there. So at the fire, especially at the fire, you have more personnel that are trained to take care of things.
absolutely,
Yeah.
that definitely helps.
And I,
Village of Embarrassed just brought their first responder group back online too.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're 100% functioning yet.
Just waiting on funding. That's kind of the last key piece. It's approved. Everything's good. It's just the last kind of final steps.
Very good. Awesome. Okay, moving along here, emergency planning and community rate.
So we're gonna do this kind of expeditiously. Dave, I apologize. You've seen this already. But we're gonna kind of go through this rather quickly. I asked Eric to put this together. And just kind of give you a little understanding of EPRA and what some of the things, one piece of the puzzle is that Eric does. So.
So what I look at every year are the fixed facilities in the county that either have hazardous or extremely hazardous chemicals. And that number fluctuates 1 or 2 up and down every year, multiple times during the year. So actually right now, I think it has 30 on there for planning facilities. It's actually 31 as of Friday. And the reporting facilities, I can't remember if that went up or down. It fluctuated a little bit. I think it went up too. But it kind of depends on what they have for quantity. So by March 1st of every year, they have to report for what they had for the previous year. So it's a snapshot in time of what they have. They also, if they have a extremely hazardous chemical, they have 60 days to report it. So that if it's something new that we are not familiar with whatsoever, we can plan for it. If the fire department admin team needs to get different equipment, different training for that chemical, it gives us time to do that. It's always kind of we're in a catch-up mode, but we do know what they had last year, and it really, really doesn't fluctuate. So there's a idea of where they're located, and pretty much in the along the major transportation corridors, Highway 10, Highway 45. There's a little cluster in Manawa there. That's their water treatment. They have chlorine there and not a lot of quantity. They have 250-pound cylinders of chlorine basically at every well site, maximum. So those change out. Then you've got Scandi and Iola had, and that was just sulfuric acid at the telephone company. So very, very minor. We don't have a lot of real ugly chemicals here. So the report that the facilities file every year is called the Tier 2 report, Tier 2 inventory. First page of the report gives, who the company is, contact information, just general overview. And all that information I can extract, that's kind of nice automatically through a program that I use called Whoppers. This automatically loads into the offsite plan. And now I've got one here. This is an example. I just printed one. We had a little computer challenge over the weekend, but I didn't get a copy printed on that. But with the offsite plans, this is for the responders, so we can develop the training based on the chemicals that they have at the facilities. And we do some exercise, make sure that the plans actually cover what the training needs are. Training and equipment needs that the responders have is probably the biggest thing for that. The other thing that we do, are you on page 2 of that report? There you are. So this will tell you on the chemicals that they have. It gives you what the physical hazards are, health hazards, and things with those quantities, where it's located. That helps with planning response that there would be a release. Just basic information there. We also have another program that I use internally to help make this all work. Is called Cameo Data Manager. So the information that comes out of the Whoppers program that it generated from this, we import into the Cameo program, which can create mapping, vulnerability zones, so we know if there's a release, what the worst case scenario would be, people, populations that would be affected, if we have nursing homes, schools, whatever, who do we have to protect if there is a release on it.
It's nice because we can see that where you can put weather in everything, you can model how far that's gonna go, what's gonna affect. But it gives us a great picture into the future for pre-planning. And we kind of know what time of year is worse than others and things.
So then, I won't go into great detail on that. You got a lot of highways in the county. Hazmat can be transported throughout the county, basically on any road that there is, unless there's weight restrictions, then they take a different one. But the difference with highway transportation and the fixed facilities, we get that report from the facilities on what they have for chemicals on the highway. We don't have a clue, other than if they have a placard, it will tell us what hazard class it is, like what's on the right there, or if we're lucky, the placard might actually have a UNNA number that's going to tell you what the general chemical might be. So in this case, it gives you the 1993, so what am I? Gasoline? Yep, gasoline. Thank you. Monday morning.
One of the worst things, about highway transportation, we don't think about it often, but you get Amazon deliveries, right? You get FedEx, UPS. Those are all, right there's a FedEx example of a hazmat call we had. You don't know what's in them. Amazon doesn't have to placard that vehicle. UPS doesn't placard it, FedEx, those are all unknowns. So that's one of the, honestly, railway, love it. I know exactly what's on that train. I know where it's going. I know how much of it is there. A FedEx truck rolling down the road, I have no idea. I don't have a clue.
In this particular case, too, FedEx did have it placarded because of the quantity that was on there. There's no limit that they have to do that for. Still, there could be other stuff that it doesn't play nice with.
This one here, just for clarification on that FedEx semi, that was a hazmat call because it was leaking and the roadway was smoking. That's what came in. That was the fire call, and that was up in Iola. It was the highway or that road that it was on was smoking. All the way where that was leaking, all the way down. The semi was smoking, the road was smoking. There was a chemical, and that was what we came upon, or that they came upon. It turned out to be a food grade hydrogen peroxide. So yes, it's gonna smoke, it's gonna make that steam, that look. But I mean, imagine the general public that sees the roadway smoking, a semi leaking, you know, so that in itself is like, whoa, boy.
And as a fire department, you don't know what's going on, so what do you do, and how far, or what?
Yep, all hazmat.
Yeah, and FedEx was a great company to work with. They were right on the spot, getting us the bill of lading information, getting contact information for the shipper. We knew where it was going to, so a lot of good information came off of that. All right, where am I?
Canadian National Railway.
All right, you have to bear with me, my blind eye is on that side of it. So on the railway side of things, every year we can send that around too. We get a dangerous goods inventory of what went down the railroad previous year. Just a crazy amount of, and this is just hazardous goods that are transported, not toilet paper, you know, food products and whatnot, just the hazardous chemicals that go down the road.
We don't have that displayed now.
So
That's why we gave you a printed copy to look at.
it doesn't vary a whole lot every year. I mean, majority of it is probably petroleum, well, it is petroleum-based product, propane. But there are some rather nasty chemicals that go down there. If you look at East Palestine, Ohio, what went down there, that comes through on our railroad track too. But the idea is if you keep the railroad upright and when it comes out of Portage County and Waupaca County and gets back into Winnebago County, that's a good day. Yeah. Railroads don't want to tip them over. I had reached out to our dangerous goods officer and I said, what does it cost to shut a railroad down for an entire day? Because it kind of varies, but about $35 million a day to shut down a railroad. That's what they not including the cost of recovery of what it is. Yeah. Tipped over and cleaned up. $35 million a day they lose in revenue. We can keep moving on.
Want to talk about
The pipeline, sorry. So we also have a major pipeline that conveniently runs pretty much right next to the railroad. A safe distance away. So
you'll see that there.
safe distance, but ENR, TC Energies is actually doing a major upgrade project this year. Over starting Waupaca, Highway 10 and after. The upgrade will go under the Wolf River near Wyland's Landing. You know where what they call the cable crossing, that actually is the gas line is the cable crossing. Currently it's a 24-inch line. They're going to upgrade it to a 36-inch pipe going through there, which will more than double capacity. And they're putting in a dual compressor station in Hawaii. So just incredible amount of natural gas will be able to go through there. The only thing in the pipeline is natural gas. And I'll just move it along a little bit here. So the different types of rail cars that go down the road. Got a box car, and the maximum load per car, doesn't matter what it is 286,000 pounds real weight. So our weight and carrying. But a box car weighs somewhere between 60 and 80,000 pounds, so they can carry 205,000 pounds of whatever. And that could be all hazardous stuff. The tank cars are similarly the same thing, but I did these out in gallons. So on a typical propane car, anhydrous ammonia, they have 34,000 gallons of product, so liquid products that would, if they release, they would evaporate. Some of them like to go high, some like to go low.
General service, the low pressure.
Okay, low pressure, so this would be your petroleum products, diesel fuel, other flammable products are in there. Could be inert things. You just never know. Okay. They are all placarded. One of the cool things though, on the side of every rail car, I don't have one in my garage. we have a program, all the first responders, we call that rail. So we can bring the thing up on our phone, you take the 8 or 10 digit, marking number off the side of it, will tell you exactly what's in the car, whether it's a full car, an empty car, it'll give you contact information of where it came from, where it's going to. And you can also go into, emergency, protective measures initially onto that. Then you go to the next screen and we'll tell you everything that's on that train car.
We can see the full constants of it, so we can see every car and all the information.
What order they're supposed to be in, doesn't mean they are, but what they're supposed to be in.
There.
So, and you can go to the last one too, we'll go through these. quick.
Okay.
So the last one, very similar to what, highway with a semi-trailer, we don't necessarily know what's in that trailer. These cars, they're horrible.
No idea.
They come off a ship probably from a different country. They're hard to see the markings on them. And just so you know, gravity holds those containers on those rail cars. They're
not
not
locked.
strapped down.
It's gravity. That's all it is.
What happened though?
So those cars, they're not locked.
They're not
They're not,
locked.
they're not secured. It's just gravity. That's all that holds those on.
When a container. I think that says Yang there, that's China.
It could be.
No, those containers are on a semi truck.
Those are secured.
They're
usually.
secured, they're
Yep.
pinned down.
Yep, those are pinned, but these, when they're craned down,
Just wait.
good. That's all that holds those on. So I guess it gives you a new appreciation when you're sitting at a railroad crossing.
Yeah.
Is that why I always stay away from
Stay
it?
back a little
Yeah,
bit,
you go, there's nothing holding that up. So, when they tip, they.
The top one, is it locked into the bottom one? It's just sitting on top of it.
There's pins.
Well, yeah,
That's it.
okay, yeah, but,
There's no strapping, no locks.
yeah, okay.
They tip? They tip.
Oh, well, when I come in, on and I usually back up, I said back up, but I usually stay far enough away that,
You don't want one of those coming in.
yeah, I mean, you can't get out of the way if you see one coming with them, it's,
Well, and the thing, there's 200,000 pounds. You could have 200,000 pounds.
yeah, but.
Yeah, each of those containers, those are limited, the max gross on each one of those containers. is 50,000 pounds.
But even so, I don't know that you can chain it enough.
Yeah,
If it tipped, it would
Yeah.
just go.
100%.
Yeah. Well, the other day I was sitting in Fox Valley Tech and I got there early, I counted, there was 184 cars on that train, if I counted right, and
Think of the,
looking out the window and 184 I counted.
think of the power to move that.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's just amazing.
This is kind of just an example of the flammable gases on that sheet you saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I won't go through there. There's one on the
Toxic
one with the
gas.
red highlight.
Flammable liquids.
Page. So one of the chemicals that goes down the rail, wasn't too many car loads of it, which is methyl isocyanate, which is the chemical that started the whole EPCA program back in 1986. That was what failed in Bhopal, India, and killed about 7,000 people. We had the same thing in Pennsylvania.
India.
So that chemical is still around. It's still made by Union Carbide, and it does go down the rail. So we can just kind of buzz through this and.
Yeah, about that last screen combustible liquid.
All
No
right.
more description, it's just.
Yeah, when it gets into that, that's it.
So combustible liquid, difference between a flammable and a combustible is just what the ignition temperature is. So
Sure.
it's a flammable is less than 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and a combustible ignition is over 100. So it's still going to be, like probably a petroleum product or it could be about anything, but they really don't tell you a lot. But how you deal with it.
Okay, very good report, guys. Any other questions?
Just a quick question. What amount of storage requires it to be notified to you?
So on
My question is this, basically, we're down to only a small amount of large farms left and some of them have. I'm trying to understand because if something happens there, are they prepared? That's all I'm getting at.
So At a fixed facility, if it's not extremely hazardous, it's 10,000 pounds for certain chemicals. If it's an extremely hazardous, it could be as little as 1 pound. To 10,000 pounds.
It
But it
depends on the
has to
chemical.
be on site more than 24 hours. So if a farmer has chemicals coming in, like a contract service, and they're coming in and spraying it, they don't have to report it at all, provided it's not staying there more than 1 day.
Well, some of that stays there a little longer than that, I'll tell you that right away.
Absolutely.
Paraquat's one of them, that's anything over a gallon, actually a pound, not a gallon, 1 pound of paraquat has to be reported. So I don't want to deal with that stuff. No, we'll get you guys out of here. With the fact that legislative always follows this one, would it work better or cause another conflict if we had this meeting at 8:30 instead of 9 to give you a little more time since we're distance or?
No, this is 7. We're at. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. We had it at 8:30 or something?
Yeah, if we started at 8:30.
That clock's wrong.
That clock's,
Would that cause conflict? Would it make it easier to
No,
leave it at 9?
I'm up early anyway.
It don't matter to me.
8:30?
Just move the time to 8:30, make it a little easier, so it's gives you a little buffer to get to your next one.
Did you get up that early?
Drink less coffee than before.
It'll be a struggle, but I'll do it.
With coffee and donuts.
Okay, that,
Yes, sir.
okay, very good. Thanks again. Great report. guys.
Move to adjourn.
Next meeting, June 9th for everyone
At 8:30?
At 8:30.
Move to adjourn.
at 8:30.
At 8:30.
Very good. And Fred, you motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Very good.